Good morning. It is December 29th, and it's time for our daily dose of good news, which is from 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 10 through 17. According to the grace of God given to me, like a skilled master builder, I laid a foundation, and someone else is building on it. Each builder must choose with care how to build on it. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one that has been laid. That foundation is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, the work of each builder will become visible, for the day will disclose it, because it will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each has done. If what has been built on the foundation survives, the builder will receive a reward. If the work is burned up, the builder will suffer loss. The builder will be saved, but only as through fire. Do you not know that you are God's temple, and that God's Spirit dwells in you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy that person. For God's temple is holy, and you are that temple. Here ends the reading. I think this reading is interesting because it talks about intentionality. And this morning I'm in the office working in order to cover it because office hours here are from 8:30 to 12:30, and we intentionally set those hours so that we're available for people to bring in the meal or do work outside or inside, that we intentionally make sure people are available to have the doors unlocked and let people in and serve people in whatever way is helpful. Likewise, when I came in this morning, I noticed that some of our flowers had tilted over again, so I was staking some of those down this morning. I noticed that some of our global nativities had fallen over, so I was putting some supports underneath that so it was flat and level so they wouldn't fall over anymore. So this morning has been a lot of small little tasks, intentional tasks, so that we keep the church running successfully and doing things successfully. And while that's important, I wonder how often we are intentional about how we live. Just as intentional as we are about bringing in the physical supplies that we need here at the church building. Because one of the goals of this passage is to remind us that God calls us to live intentionally, that God calls us as beloved children of God who are precious and who God supports and who God views as holy and beloved, and that God dwells in us as part of God's family, that God views us as a temple that God lives in. And because of that, our actions need to be intentional to demonstrate God's presence in us. And so while our foundation, as it mentions at the beginning of the passage, is on Jesus Christ, what are we building on besides that? And it gives the analogy of a rebuilding out of wood or straw or brick, or what's the substance of our building, and that'll be revealed. So I think it's a great way to think about, you might have your to-do list at your house of intentionally what things do you need to do today. Maybe you need to write some thank you notes for Christmas presents. Maybe you need to call someone. Maybe there's some maintenance that needs to be done at your home. Maybe you want to meet a friend for coffee. You may have intentional things that you want to do. Are you likewise choosing intentionally how you're going to live as a follower of Christ, as a follower of Jesus? Are you intentionally considering things like, okay, how am I going to live out the concept of forgiveness in my life? How am I going to demonstrate that? How am I going to work through that in areas where I struggle? How am I going to embrace that as fully as possible? Not just in some token way, as if it's made out of straw, but in a way that it's made out of stone. How do I bring forgiveness into my life in a more solid, real, substantial, continuous way? Okay? Maybe you're looking at, how do I bring generosity into my life more substantially? How do I, based on my love of Christ, use my financial resources in a way that builds on that? So maybe that's with our malaria nets. That because I love Jesus and that causes me to love my neighbor, I'm going to contribute $20 towards the malaria nets. And that's a way that I'm going to be generous with my financials. Okay? Maybe it is, okay, I want to donate some money to Holy Trinity. And I want to put them in my will that when I die, some of the money that's in my estate will go to Holy Trinity to further the work of God's people, to further the work of the church. Maybe there are other ways that you can think about that you can live out some of these concepts more intentionally. Because I think God always calls us to do that. And a couple of the other passages for today, one of them was around King David talking about building the temple for God, and how while that was David's desire to do, he felt like God was directing him to let Solomon, his son, do it. And so David's very intentionally choosing, okay, I want to do things to serve God. This is what I'd like to do, but I hear God calling me to something different. I hear God saying he wants Solomon to step into this role. I'm intentionally going to clear the way for that to happen and encourage the leaders to support Solomon in this task. Okay? God calls us to live very intentional lives. And we can be intentional about a lot of logistics of our practical, everyday lives. So today, I challenge you to live intentionally in your spiritual life, in your Christian life, to pray to God and to ask God specifically, okay, what do you want me working on? What do you want to empower me on? Knowing that I am your child and that I want to build on my relationship with Christ, what do you want to see further enhanced in my life, further solidified in my life as if it's made out of stone? How do I build on my Christian faith and my life in ways that please you substantially and intentionally? So, something for you to think about today. So, enjoy that idea over coffee. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.